The Green Bay Packers looked like they were going to blow a game to their division rivals, the Chicago Bears, coming off the bye week. Instead, they block a field goal at the end. They get the win. Live reaction coming at you right now.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Man, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the number one Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Today's Victory Monday edition of Locked On Packers brought to you by our friends at Hillsdale College. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. Trust me, we will get to the defense, but let's start with this Green Bay Packers offense. It was not by any means perfect, but by my count, just a single drop in this game. That is a significant improvement from what we've seen so far this season. The Packers against a top five defense. A top five defense. This Packers team averaged 8.5 yards per play, depending on what metrics you're looking right now. 13th by DVOA, but there are other metrics that say the Chicago Bears are a top 10 kind of defense, and they are the number one red zone defense. That showed up in this football game, and that's the thing right now for the Packers is they are so close. They are so painfully close, and it is painful, and that's what makes this so frustrating, because to put up 8.5 yards per play against this defense is nothing short of remarkable. They move the ball up and down the field on this team. And you lose a red zone trip in the low red zone because you go for it on fourth down. Jordan Love decides to try and take off. Really can't do that there. You have to try and make a throw. Like, there was just no way he was going to run it in there. I know he got down to the one, but that was really only because the bodies took an extra split second to converge on him. He was not going to make that play. And then you throw an interception in the red zone. That's another Jordan Love mistake. Now there's also 2nd and 1, they go RPO. And instead of throwing the ball immediately, Love holds it for a second. They get a body downfield. Those offensive linemen don't know. They don't know if the ball's been thrown or if the running back has it. So they can't know not to be downfield. Jordan Love has to have the situational awareness to get that out. And then the play calling. I didn't like the 2nd and 6 play calling. I didn't like the 2-point conversion play calling. I thought there was some overly conservative play calling in this game at various times. And yet, Jordan Love, Christian Watson, more on him later, with the game on the line, they march right down the field and score the game-winning touchdown. After the Bears made it a 13-7 game, the Packers right down the field. I mean, come right down the field. 6 plays, 70 yards in less than 4 minutes. They come right back down and score. When they needed to get the offense, they manufactured the offense. 19 first downs in this football game. Now, they weren't great on 3rd down. But again, 8.5 yards per play is ridiculous. Jordan Love averaged he did average over 15 yards per an attempt. 15 yards per attempt against a top 5 Bears passing defense. I know this is one of the worst run defenses in the league, and that showed again today. The Packers, 106 yards on 25 carries, over 4 yards a carry, 2 rushing touchdowns, including the Jordan Love QB sneak. Jordan Love, it was really just one throw in this game. And this is the thing about where this offense is right now. They are 1 to 5 plays a game away from absolute explosion. Like, that interception turns out to be a 14-point interception because you throw the pick. It's at least a 10-point interception. because you throw the pick, you give up the points, and then the Bears come out of halftime and get points. If they can just, and again, this is self-inflicted stuff. If they can just cut that stuff down, it makes a world of difference. This game is like 2 red zone trips, to come away from 2 red zone trips with 0 points, when in 2 other red zone trips, you get touchdowns. The Packers moved the ball at will in this game, but could not once again, convert in the red zone. 3 of 5 in the red zone, except the 2 that they didn't convert, they gave the ball away. 5 red zone trips against this Bears defense is damn impressive. 8.5 yards per play against this Bears defense. 15 yards per pass attempt against this Bears defense is damn impressive. There have been so many times this season where I have said, aside from 1 throw, Jordan Love was excellent in this game. Against the Vikings, it was like aside from 3 throws. But he's still, it's the wow plays are still there. Step up in the play, step up in the pocket. First drive, step up and escape to the right, make a throw on the run to Romeo Doubs. Those were plays that he could not make when he was hurt. Long run to set up the game-winning points could not have happened with the old injuries. And I thought Tom Brady did an excellent job of explaining, hey, look, when your lower body is not right, it's in the pocket movement too. That third down, that 3rd and long throw to Christian Watson early in the game, where he's stepping up, avoiding pressure, doesn't panic, and then throws a laser beam on Christian Watson's chest. Those were the plays that he couldn't make most of the season because your lower body, when it's not underneath you, you just don't have that same sort of flexibility. So even with the interception, and this is why I've been telling you all year, I don't really care that much about the interception. Even with the interception, 13 of 17 for 261, a touchdown, another rushing touchdown, a 113 quarterback rating, and that's with the interception. Jordan Love was not the reason that this game was close in a lot of ways. But at the same time, in terms of like, he's not the reason that the Bears played up to the Packers level. The interception was a huge one. It's one of the biggest ones that Jordan Love, frankly, has ever thrown in terms of momentum-killing plays. And it is also a weird one for Love because he doesn't usually throw interceptions with ball placement. Even some where the ball placement isn't very good, it's usually the decision that dooms the throw. This was not a bad decision. This was a great decision. In fact, if he puts that ball on Tucker Kraft, he might score. But that's not what happened. So that's what I mean. The Packers got everything. This was the Josh Jacobs game in terms of everything that he brings to bear. 18 for 76 on the ground with a touchdown. He had 4 for 58 in the passing game. A couple really nice plays in the passing game. This was the game that I've been calling for since before the bye. When we did that self-scout, I said the Packers need to lean into their best players. That's Josh Jacobs. He had 18 carries. No other running back had more than 2, and it was Emmanuel Wilson, not Chris Brooks. Christian Watson, he didn't lead the team in targets, but he led receivers in targets. Dontavion Wicks got 1 target. Bo Melton got 0. Malik Heath in for like 1 or 2 snaps. Now, the problem is one of those snaps was an obvious in the red zone play where it's like, if you have Bo Melton and Malik Heath on the field together, yeah, of course it's going to be a run. Why would you throw it if those are your receivers? You got to go play action. Or you just have to not have to do that. You just have to not do that. I mean, that's easy enough too. So this Packers team, it's great to get the win, and you never apologize for a win. And I'm not going to do that. But this is so close, this offense. You go back to, I keep thinking about the week 1 game. Like they sleepwalked to 400 yards of offense. This team is so freaking talented that if they're moving in the right direction to me, they're moving forward. This was, in terms of the shape of what they're trying to get accomplished on offense, I thought the best we've seen the offense. They're going to have to play better next week. But guess what? The defense is really going to have to play better. We're going to talk about this defense coming up next on Locked On Packers. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Hillsdale College. Time is the most precious commodity we have, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? How about history? How about economics? How about the great works of literature? Did you study these things in school? Do you remember studying these things in school? Maybe more importantly, time and technology have changed a lot of things, but they have not changed basic fundamental truths about the world and our place in it. Hillsdale College is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including the Constitution, free market economics, the rise and fall of Roman Republic. They've got music classes, art classes. So they're all self-paced. You can start whenever and wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.com/lockedon to register. Hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Today's episode also brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Don't waste another minute just watching games. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Why not have a little money involved in all the action? Because you can just pick more or less than two players, at least two players, for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You need as little as 4 correct to get that 100 times bonus. But we're talking about 100 times your money, baby. 100 times your money. That's major payouts. Wouldn't you like 100 times your money? That seems pretty great to me. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDON to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win it. You don't even need to win it. Download the app and use the code LOCKEDON NFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. The defense. What do you say about this defense? It looked Joe Barry-ish. The pass rush until that last drive could not get it going. And then even on the last drive, it didn't end up mattering. You have this team, one of the most inept offenses we've ever seen last week. You have them 3rd and 19. 2 back-to-back sacks. I guess there have to be 2 if it's back-to-back. Kingsley Enagbare is about to close the door on this game. Cannot finish off Caleb Williams, and you get a wide open receiver. It's 4th and 2. And then because Jair Alexander's not out there, it was just, where's Keyshawn Nixon? All game. Where's Keyshawn Nixon? Where's Keyshawn Nixon? Where's Keyshawn Nixon? They went after Keyshawn Nixon in the run game, in the screen game. If he is your second boundary corner, you are in big trouble. He has played solidly over the course of the season, but teams, especially teams with good receivers and teams like this where they can throw receiver screens to one side and they know he's not going to get off blocks, it's eventually you will be found out. Like, you think the 49ers next week aren't going to make Keyshawn Nixon tackle? You appreciate Jair Alexander trying to gut this one out. Clearly not 100%, not ready to come back. And what you hope did not happen was that the injury was bad enough that it's going to keep him out of another game. You can't have that because you need him. You're going to need him against the 49ers for sure. You're going to need him against the Miami Dolphins. You're going to need him against the Detroit Lions. This is a stretch of games. You have to win all these. Or at least go like 3-1 in this 4-game stretch. 2-2 is absolute worst case scenario for the Packers right now. They have to win these games. Now they've got 1 win. But not having Ja is a big problem. I liked that they kept Javon Bullard in the slot. Frankly, I hope they continue to do that. I think Carrington Valentine needs to play more. But I would be rotating Eric Stokes with Keyshawn Nixon. And I think that's a little bit of like deck chair Titanic situation. But you need, I've said this all year, you need Jair Alexander to be on the field for this Packers defense, frankly, to be workable. I don't think Evan Williams coming back is just a panacea. Xavier McKinney had his worst game as a Packer by far, missed a couple tackles, including on the 38-yard DeAndre Swift touchdown. Now, the pass rush came alive when they needed it to. Rashawn Gary, with by far his best play of 2024, just walks Braxton Jones into Caleb Williams' lap. Karl Brooks, I know it's not technically a defensive play. He gets the field goal block. Enormous play. Obviously, game winner play, right? I don't know what else needs to be said about Quay Walker at this point. What else needs to be said? He was terrible. I mean, it's hard to even fathom how terrible he played in this football game. And what I don't understand is, if you go by, I understand Pro Football Focus is not going to make everyone happy with their grades. And I get it. And I think they're probably the least reliable part of their charting in terms of leaning on them, as they're not analytics. It's subjective. But by their grading, he's been one of the 3 to 5 worst starters in the NFL. In the NFL at any position since he came into the league. Guys who play as bad as he does regularly do not keep their jobs. Where is the accountability? And it can't be, we don't have anybody else. Pull someone out of the stands and they will play better than Quay Walker played in Chicago on Sunday. It was embarrassing. I mean, they on the play where the Bears scored that last touchdown. On third down, Quay Walker contacted the running back in the backfield. It looked like, I thought he scored. He almost scored. And then on fourth down, he contacts the running back at the 3-yard line. And it ends up being a touchdown. Crucial fourth down late in the game. Zone read. Tom Brady knew that's what the call was. Quay Walker seemed to read it. He comes downhill, comes in out of control, he's got a free shot at Caleb Williams. Does not come in under control and misses a tackle. Teams like the Lions, and maybe only the Lions, are going to take advantage of guys like that. If you get to the Super Bowl, I mean, it's sort of like at that point, like, who cares? But like the Ravens, the best teams, the Chiefs, they're going to take advantage of those guys if you don't just play your 2 best linebackers. And the Packers' 2 best linebackers are Eric Wilson and Edgerrin Cooper. And what I cannot understand is the first half, steady rotation of McDuffie, of Wilson. There were times when there were 3 linebackers set and they don't even have Edgerrin Cooper on the field. And then in the second half, it was almost exclusively, like, I'm sure the charting is going to bear this out. Almost exclusively, it's Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper. So enough with the Isaiah McDuffie snaps, unless you're going to give him a shot at Mike. Edgerrin Cooper is your will linebacker, period. It's over. Let him make his mistakes. I understand. Preparation-wise, it's not everything you want it to be, but come on. It can't be this. And you cannot watch this game and take no action. If you are going to be a head coach and a defensive coordinator that allows all of the rotating that we see, they're rotating at corner, they're rotating at other linebacker spots, they do a ton of rotating of the defensive front just to keep guys fresh. Then Quay Walker, at the very least, cannot be a no doubt 100% of snaps player on this team anymore. And that was true a month ago, 2 months ago. I mean, I was saying in the first month of the season that Quay Walker was going to be benched by Halloween. And frankly, it should have happened. Now, I know Edgerrin Cooper missed on two, like this. And I was texting with a player, not on the Packers, but a player, about the Edgerrin Cooper plays. And the first one, okay, you take a bad angle, Caleb Williams faster than you think. For edge, like most of those quarterbacks are not going to be able to do that to him. So credit to Caleb Williams. But then the second one, you're the spy. You're there. You have him dead to rights. That's your play to make. And you take another bad angle. Those are the plays that can happen. You wonder, and I've been saying this all year, like what are they seeing? What are the coaches seeing that we're not? And it's plays like that. Now, this is the first time I think in a game those bad fundamentals have come out and reared their head in a way that hurts the team in a meaningful way. I think there's certainly been other times, I'm sure, where he's fit the run wrong or he's been in the wrong place, but it hasn't hurt the team so obviously. But look, Quay Walker's not making any plays. There's nothing good to make up for all the bad. It's just over. It's just over. I guess he made one good play in this game, the PBU against Keenan Allen. It's sad for Keenan Allen. The Packers had linebackers on him multiple times, and he couldn't shake them in any of those cases. I mean, Quay Walker ran the route for Keenan Allen. It's actually a really nice play. This defense, look, I don't think Xavier McKinney is going to have a terrible game every week. I think they did get a boost from this offensive coordinator thing. They got the ball out in a hurry. I thought Jeff Hafley was very slow to adapt. Toward the end of the game, they started playing more press coverage. They started playing more man coverage. And good, guess what? Much like what happened against the Panthers a couple years ago, you give a team confidence. These are NFL players. Like even the bad ones can be good if you give them a little confidence. It happened against the Panthers. Bryce Young all of a sudden dotting up guys on corner routes, and players who haven't made a play in the NFL in 5 years are making catches on the sidelines. This is a good Bears receiver room. DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, those are good players. Cole Kmet and Caleb Williams, we know he's talented. They let this Bears team get in way too much of a rhythm. They did not do what they have done for most of the season in dictate terms. I did not think they were aggressive. And when they did blitz, they're playing soft zone behind it. It's sort of like, okay, well, that's not going to be useful. So, okay, Jeff Hafley, you got 2 games coming up against teams you've already faced. You're playing the 49ers, a team that you used to coach. You know Kyle Shanahan. Now has to be the time where you show that this was the right decision. I think he's been a good defensive coordinator to this year. They've improved in a lot of ways that Joe Barry could never get them to improve. But we've seen this over and over and over. And this game reminded me a lot of the Giants game last year. They come in, they didn't play with the level of intensity that they needed to, the level of focus that they needed to, and a clearly inferior team stayed in the game the whole game. They get the late go-ahead score on a great drive from Jordan Love, and then Tommy Cutlets leads them down the field. Now, Caleb Williams is not Tommy Cutlets, but you have them in 3rd and 19. The game should be over. And I tweeted it out. I skeeted it out. Both of those things are true. That you can't give them a free 8 to 12 yards to set up an easy 4th down or an easier 4th down. And they didn't just do that. They gave up 17 yards because they couldn't tackle Caleb Williams, a guy who's been the most sackable quarterback in the NFL this year. It should have been 3 straight sacks, and the game is basically over at that point. It's Hail Mary time, more or less. And they couldn't do it. And that has been the story of the Packers defense in the Matt LaFleur era. They come close, they give themselves an opportunity, and they haven't quite been able to get there. Now, I think that is just as much on Brian Gutekunst as it is on Matt LaFleur and his inability to hire defensive coordinators. But they got to get this figured out. And if they don't, I mean, we saw what the Detroit Lions are capable of. They are the team right now in the NFL to me that everyone is chasing. And if you compare the Packers to them right now, the Packers are not on their level. They're not playing at their level right now. They can get there. We haven't seen it yet. Now, one guy who I think can really help them get to that place, Christian Watson. He's got to get more opportunities. I've been saying it for weeks, for months. We'll talk about him next on Locked On Packers. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Packers. They don't cover the 5.5. They wouldn't even have covered 3. That was the look ahead line, was the 3. But they do get the win. They get the job done. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I have to imagine that live line on 3rd and 19, I mean, it might have been off the board. And then it was probably off the board when the Packers are getting ready to, or the Bears are getting ready to line up that field goal. You probably could not have even bet on it at that point. The Packers end up winning. That's why we love sports. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your team wins on your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On NFL with 2 shows every day. First, the madman Tyler Rowland kicks off your morning with a double shot of NFL espresso, and then stop by the barbershop with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Let's talk about Christian Watson to close out the show here. This was a player who I had been saying before the season, what I said was, if Christian Watson is healthy, and we also are assuming relative health from Jordan Love, meant that this Packers offense could be the best offense in the league. Now, can they get to the Lions level? I think they can. We haven't seen it. Can they get to the Ravens level? I think they can. We haven't seen it. But Christian Watson made every play in this game. Made every play in this game. 4 catches for 150 yards, but that doesn't even encapsulate it. All of them were important catches. You had the 3rd down conversion on 3rd and long. They convert it on an absolute heater from Love to Watson. He's open early. Love has to come back to him. Watson comes back to the ball and makes the catch. You have the second reaction play at the end. Little Jordan Love escapes the pocket. He's got Tucker Kraft. He heaves the ball down. Christian Watson gets you down into scoring position, and the Packers score. Sorry. I'm getting all of the Christian Watson explosive plays mixed up. They had a 25-yarder on the touchdown drive, but then a 48-yarder, which is the little down the line. They got Tucker Kraft wide open, and he makes a great adjustment to the ball and makes the catch. All the things that Watson has been criticized for not being able to do, making plays with the ball in his hand after the catch. That 60-yarder was like an 18-yard play. He lays out, makes a terrific catch outside of his frame, and then gets up. And I thought, frankly, could have kept going. I thought he could have raced. He tried to cut back. I think he could have raced and probably ended up getting more yards. He wanted to score. I think he could have raced and gotten inside the 10. Not a criticism, just a thing. That's true. Every catch, all 4 catches were first downs. They were huge plays in the game. And he's not going to have 4 for 150 every week. But if there are weeks that he goes 6 for 80, 8 for 95 and a touchdown, he can be the engine of this offense, this passing game. And we saw in 2022, when they made Christian Watson the focal point of the offense, this offense got better. It was the only time this offense looked functional. Now, that was with Aaron Rodgers, different point in his career, different team. But this was, again, I said it at the open, this is the version of the Packers where Josh Jacobs is your main guy in the backfield. Christian Watson is your number 1 receiver, and Jordan Love is making plays outside of structure. Again, 1 play away. Really just the interception. If Jordan Love doesn't throw the interception and they score points, I think you feel a lot differently about this game, even if it's not a touchdown. Now, 3 points, it's 23-19 when the Packers score when they do. We can't just assume everything else falls into place. But this is the structure in terms of the shape of the offense that I think works best for this team. Are there more ways that I want to see them get Jaden Reed involved if possible? Yes. Are there more ways I want to see them get Tucker Kraft involved if possible? Yes. What do they have? 7 possessions in this game? Like most games, you're going to have more possessions than that. And that's part of the weirdness that we see. Yeah, 7 drives. And one of them was a kneel down. Which means, by the way, in 6 drives, they made 5 red zone trips against an elite passing defense. Just think about that for a second. Now, one last thing I want to mention. The 4th down. That is going to be a heavily scrutinized decision. It's 19-14 with 11 minutes left in the game. And, Mark Tauscher said, just take the points. A lot of take the points Twitter out there. Blue Skyers, wherever you are, True Socialers. I don't know where you are. Is there a Packers Twitter on True Social? I don't know. I know there is on Blue Sky. I'm going to get in trouble for that too, apparently. But I felt like at that point in the game, you needed the points. You needed the touchdown more than you just needed 3 points. It's a 1-score game. You're going to kick the field goal to make it a 1-score game. Now, understanding if you get a stop and you get the ball back, now all you need is a field goal to win the game. But then you're in the same position. And that's the thing. It changes the way you play. And we've actually seen this. Teams that need touchdowns to win. Football Outsiders, when it was Football Outsiders, before it was FTN Fantasy, study this. Teams that need a touchdown to win, so they need to get 4, 5, or 6 to win, score touchdowns more often than teams who need just a field goal, because teams play to just get the field goal. So we can't say, well, if they get the 3 and then all they need is 3 later, they'll definitely get it. No, we can't say that because so much changes about the circumstances in the meantime. You can't just say, oh, well, if it's 23-19, then the Bears need the touchdown. Yeah, sure. But then they're not playing for the field goal. They don't run the ball twice on the final drive. They try and keep scoring. So I think that it's too much to say, okay, well, they needed the 3 points at the end. No, they didn't. Because they got the stop they needed. They got the field goal block that they needed. If they get the field goal and then the field goal to take the lead, it's the same thing. Because they got 6 and then went for 2. And because it was 5, you score and you get the 2 point, which they tried to do. It's an 8-point score, and now you're up 3. And now a field goal only ties you. So that's why going for it was the right decision. Jordan Love just has to find someone to throw the ball to. He has to be a little bit more patient. He wants to make every play, and I love that about him. As soon as he decided to take off, I was like, what is he doing? You have to try and make a throw there. But I thought overall Jordan Love played well in this game. Think about his final line, okay? 13 of 17. He had the Romeo Doubs drop. He had the throwaway to Josh Jacobs where he threw it behind him. I think that was a throwaway. He sees the defender at the last minute, throws it away. The interception, I can't think of the 4th incompletion there, but that's how many incompletions he had. 4. A drop and a throwaway are 2 of those 4. And then there was a PBU. Jalen Johnson had a PBU on Dontavian Wicks. That's your 4. That's a pretty good day at the office. I think that the idea that Jordan Love is struggling is so overrated. It's so overrated. They're so close. They are so close. And Christian Watson is a big reason why. All right, back tomorrow. So much more. 49ers week. Huge week. Packers 7-3. They escaped. I was starting to think, okay, 6-4. What is the wild card seating going to look like? No, 7-3. They are in terrific position now to make the postseason. This was a huge game. The next gen stats coming in, if they lost, they had less than a 50% chance to make the playoffs. With a win, they're over 70% to make the playoffs. At this point, the Commanders lost this week, so they're 7-4. They're ahead of the other division winners, no matter what happens this week. So they're in really good shape. The 5 seed is definitely within their reach. They're going to have to beat the Vikings to do that, but they're going to have to beat the Vikings anyway. They get the Vikings again, they get the Lions again. They're going to have to play better than they have played to get there. All right, coming up, a lot more this week on Locked On Packers, then Thanksgiving week, short week, all the good stuff. So follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Go follow me over on Blue Sky. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you find podcasts. Subscribe on YouTube. We are live on YouTube right this minute. If you're getting this in your podcast feed, why don't you come hang out with us after the game with 700 of your closest friends? Come over, say hi. Let's have some fun so you can stay Locked On Packers.